misheard. The July 22nd Mount Lebanon Resiliency Board meeting. Calling this to order. Roll call, please.
Okay, Eric Milliron, staff.
Chet Wade.
Carol Tropin.
Jeff Sigler, Commission Liaison.
Greg Wharton, staff.
Alice Galeri.
Rick Saber.
John Ronald.
John Vogel.
Taylor Merritt.
And I'm assuming Taylor's a new member of our board?
Yes, first in person. I've been on Zoom.
Okay, well,
Hello.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Next is for meeting minutes. They've been distributed. Does anybody have any comments on them? If not, will someone make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Right, Chet and Carla, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Having none. Next is citizen comments, and
Where would you like me to stand or sit? Up there?
is that
At the lectern, please, and you have 5 minutes. So just introduce yourself, name, address, and then you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is John Becker. I live at 750 Washington Road, and I park in the south garage. I have a parking permit there. My purpose this evening is to share with the board a copy of the letter which Mrs. Gary Weiss, who is president of the Washington Square Unit Owners Association, presented to the Mount Lebanon Commissioners at their June 3rd meeting. The relevancy of this particular letter will come through as I go through it. So the letter was dated June 3rd, 2026, addressed to the Commissioners. Dear Commissioners Siegler, Izzo, Wilson, Petty, and Flynn. Washington Square Condominium and the municipality of Mount Lebanon have enjoyed a successful partnership for close to 50 years regarding the south parking garage that is attached to our building. You've provided safe, accessible parking for many of our unit owners, and we have in turn provided a steady and reliable income stream for the municipality to support the garage. We've been good neighbors to each other, and we think it's important to continue this successful relationship into the future. When we were informed that the municipality had plans to demolish the garage and potentially change the use of the area, we were obviously concerned that the design may change, or that we will have less accessibility to the same number of spaces, or that the new design may not connect to our building. We are, by way of this letter, informing each of you of the importance of maintaining the same number of parking spaces provided for Washington Square condominium, and that the new garage will be directly attached to our building as it does now. Also of importance, the EV charging stations that were installed in the south garage should remain part of any new plan, and additional plugs should be considered. Lastly, the handicap accessible parking spaces should be located near our entrance on the 4th floor. Today, the condominium provides homes to 123 residential units, with approximately 200 people residing in the building. In addition, several commercial businesses are located within our building that utilize the garage. These businesses employ more than 20 people and generate considerable traffic to our community. The South Garage is vital to the businesses that operate within Washington Square condominium. As a resilient community, Mount Lebanon has identified goals for the South Garage redevelopment project, including maintaining robust commercial and residential sectors, meeting community needs, while allowing the site to achieve its highest potential that maintains relationships between the site and existing facilities. The work involved in this project will create impacts across the community, but importantly, those located near the work that is being done. We respectfully ask that when plans are being considered, that the disruption that will occur be minimized to the extent that it can be. As a request for proposals is being considered for release soon, we urge the Mount Lebanon Commissioners, its Community Planning Board, Mobility and Transportation Board, and its Resiliency Advisory Board to offer their support to include comprehensive language in the request for proposals that will effectively provide for continuing access to Washington Square condominiums from the newly designed space, and will provide an opportunity for those that want to obtain a parking permit in the redesigned facility, if they choose to do so, within a reasonable time before the facility reopens, providing public parking in the community. Thank you in advance for your cooperation with our request and for your support of maintaining the South Garage in a format that is mutually beneficial to Mount Lebanon and the unit owners and residents of Washington Square condominium. Respectfully, Mrs. Gary Weiss, President, Washington Square Unit Owners Association Board of Directors. Thank you for the opportunity to share this letter with you. At the conclusion of this particular presentation, all of the boards that have been mentioned in the letter have essentially received the same information. If you need additional copies of the letter, I have some available for you.
I
thought that they were provided.
Yeah, I provided them, John.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Becker, before you leave, I have just a couple questions. The parking, do you know how many residents and business owners and their employees lease spaces in the South Garage right now?
I don't have that information from the parking authority, but it's probably in the vicinity of under 100,
But more than 5.
more than 5.
So somewhere in that maybe 75-ish to 100, would you guess, if you just had to guess?
My guess would be closer to 50.
50, okay. And
It would be just a question of going through the rolls and the parking permits
we
and
can
see
get
how many
that.
people with
Just-
750 as an address.
and then the other question I had was, if I understand right, your building has some parking in it, but is it just not sufficient for the residents?
Right,
Is that correct? Okay. Because I thought I saw a garage entrance there.
right, there is.
All right.
But not every unit has access to parking in the building.
If I may ask, why, do you know why that is? Not, is there only just so many
Space,
spaces dedicated?
96, there's 96 parking spaces in the underground garage. There are 23 residential units, some people have 2 cars. So who winds up going into the parking garage are people like me, who don't have an assigned space under the building, people with 2 cars, one of them goes there, one of them goes downstairs. So that's generally what the case is, and the people I know in the building who are in the same situation I'm in.
Okay, so now so I have it right now. In the building, in your building, not the South Garage, how many spaces are there?
96.
Okay, there are 96. And so the remainder, now, for people who don't have a space in the building, are they able to rent from the municipality or a space in the South Garage?
I have been in the South Garage, hasn't been a problem.
Okay. Do you know if, I'm not saying this critically, I just am curious. Whenever the building was built, is there any mention, is there any agreement, standing agreement between Mount Lebanon and the condominium to allow people to park in the garage?
When the condominium was built, the parking garage was already in existence.
Mhm.
And there was an agreement between the developer of Washington Square and at that time, the parking authority. And that particular agreement provided for up to 137 parking spots.
Do you know if that's still in effect?
There's a question about that, but it is part of the agreement.
I mean, I would leave that to Phil Weiss to give a final answer on that. But normally, yeah, if you approve a land development that says that, okay, you're gonna need all this parking, the fact that, that they were able to build the building because they had parking spaces available in the garage, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't.
And it would be, you just can't turn around and just say, okay, your parking's gone. So that would be, because the whole ability for the condominium for the building to have its land development approval.
Yeah, 96 spots, and 100, how many spaces? How many, 100, what did I say, 100?
And the buildings are physically connected,
Right.
which is another
Right.
important piece of the letter.
So to add from at least one commissioner's perspective, and me personally, I would get rid of all parking, but I do not speak for everybody at the municipality, just for myself. But I know that, while we have no control over the fact that this, the South Garage is structurally failing and that it will be an inconvenience to everybody going forward while we have to deal with the demolition and finding a developer to bring it back or to putting out the RFP and finding somebody to rebuild the site. We certainly, again, appreciate and understand how it impacts condominiums, and I think the goal is to put as many spaces back as they were there before. So certainly appreciate the relationship and want to continue to have one.
Thank you. How many spaces does it hold total?
I don't remember.
The South Garage currently, it's like
292, 293.
296, I think it is to be exact. And it's never been fully occupied, at least in the 20 years I've been here. But I think, again, I don't want to jump in, could put the cart before the horse, but, the RFP will go out. Certainly, there's going to be a return of a number of parking spaces that I would imagine will be sufficient to accommodate the use of the condo as well as the business district in whole.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming.
My name is Sam Smith. I'm basically a resident of 300 Twin Hills Drive, basically updating you on Lebo Green, as I've done before. And some of the more relevant points I just wanted to make. So the last meeting I was letting you know, we had a podcast that featured Lebo Green. So if you get a chance to check it out, it was done by a Lebo resident, Tressa Glover. It's called Yins Are Good. But I think it's relevant to, I know our civic committee was talking this morning about some ideas to build the health of the community, and Yins Are Good is like a wonderful, a great program that we have right here in our town. So wanted to mention that we are in the midst of our Plastic-Free July Challenge. So if you have time to check that out, it's at mtlebogreen.org. It's going really well. We've got at least 30 people signed up so far, I know, and we're getting more. And then we're also at the Uptown Market, not this Saturday, but the next Saturday, doing a clothing swap for back to school. And we'll be doing, we've got clothing donations and reusable bags. We're currently planning events, educational events for the fall. So if there's anything that you would like us to touch upon, we'd be happy to take that under consideration. And you can talk to me about that. And then also I wanted to follow up too on your point, Eric, about a UN organizations that you've talked about before, kind of pulling together
Right.
groups. I mentioned that at the last Uptown Market to Amy Cottrell, who's our new manager, and she loved the idea of possibly just even devoting some space during one of the Uptown Markets in like September or October, around that. And just this would be like nonprofits in the area just having a table, almost like a job fair where people could find out.
Yeah, that's the idea, and it's getting some legs. I've talked to a couple of folks about it, so I think it's something we're going to execute.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll obviously loop you in and anyone else. You clearly are invited to be in the UN United Nonprofit Summit of Mount Lebanon, so I'll keep you apprised as that develops.
That's great to hear. Yeah, everybody loved that idea, so
Cool.
thank you. Okay, and then I also had an opportunity, to talk with Chet about on the sustainability committee about some ideas too, partnering more with Lebo Green and with the civic health group. This morning we were talking, I know we mentioned that there would be an ad hoc committee for zoning, is that right? So just wanted to reiterate, so Morgan Sulik from our group would definitely love to be a part of that if there's room for that. So that's all I have for today. But thank you very much. And thank you for including me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, sure.
Is there anybody online to speak? Seeing none, next is Commission Liaison Report.
Absolutely. All right, let's see, we've got coming up, I don't think much took place the last meeting. Summer tends to be a little bit quieter. Well, not altogether quiet, but we'll get to that. We're appointing junior commissioners at the next meeting. We should be moving to enact the ordinance regarding smoke shops and vape shops that we introduced, I guess, 2 meetings ago. had a public hearing, and so this commission, we can enact that, which again is a response to an additional vape shop looking to come into town. And then we do have a public hearing on the e-bikes, and so kind of been a big to-do around the neighborhood this summer. I think that everybody's probably a little bit aware that with the drop in price and sort of the improvements in technology and speed, that there's a lot of mobile devices sort of everywhere, and there's been a lot of concern. There's a lot of people running around. They're on the sidewalks, and it's one of these things that's just sort of everybody's dealing with, like every municipality is dealing with, sort of all at the same time of how do we get a handle on this. So we're looking at a bit of legislation around the idea of, and we're having them in parks. That's been one of the bigger concerns is, having some of the parks turf and some of the grass, and so and then making sure. And what we really found out actually is in sitting down with Chief Haberman that Pennsylvania already has some pretty tight rules around this. So what we really like, anybody under 16 can't operate these bikes. Or a lot of these devices. And so what we found is that what we probably really need to focus on is education. So we are going to, or we do have a public hearing coming about restricting where people can ride them, making sure that if they're, certain type of devices, they're on the road, if there are other types of devices that they stay on the sidewalk, but really trying to lean into an education campaign to get people to understand what can and can't be ridden in what age. We think that probably the education component is sort of the best foot forward or the most important piece, because I think that's what's really lacking. And then finally, we've got looking to issue a municipal bond to things like the big one is the Cedar Boulevard parking lot, adding lighting to the Clinton Seymour Field. We have to replace the turf, and then we're looking at some improvements at Brafferton Field, and then the library renovations. So that's coming up this next week is issuing that, or voting on agreeing to issue that bond. So that's kind of an update from the commission.
Excellent. Let's see, next is the workshop discussion.
Yeah, and Mr. Vogel, I was thinking maybe that since we pretty much have the 3 committees firmed up from our last session, maybe we just can go down through through those 3 committees, and then the chair of those committees can update the board on the meetings that more than likely took place in the last month, and what some of the priorities are that they want to work on in the next year, so we can put that into a work plan.
First would be the economic business district community, or
Committee.
please do.
Yeah. So we did not meet in the last month, unfortunately, but we have priorities unordered from the prior discussion session. So we should meet and prioritize them, but I can share the full list that we've been discussing before that. So the list that we had is next iteration of the maintenance and vacancy ordinance. So the first one sounds like it's working. So putting next iteration could be a good opportunity because it takes a while, more than a year probably. Then figuring out how we can activate our business districts more with streets open to pedestrians. Like it works in some days of the year when they're open to everyone. So I want to see how we could activate the business districts more, or enable that activation. Then continuing work on right sizing of Washington, whatever we need to do there and whatever support we need to provide. Then getting pedestrian-friendly crossings in business districts so that it's a lot more comfortable for pedestrians to walk between businesses. Then working with partnership on design guidelines and vitality of business districts. So they have some good suggestions there. So we were planning to iterate with them and work together on that. And then last but not least is figuring out if we could install bicycle racks in specific parts of commercial districts. And there are a couple of good reasons there. First is to enable people to come by bikes, not by cars. And then people that do come by bikes, so they can park them somewhere instead of riding them on sidewalks and tying them to something inappropriate and just put them in a bicycle rack. So that was like full list of priorities that we were discussing. I might be missing something, so feel free to add if I'm missing something. But we should try to meet even though it's summer and prioritize it for the year.
That's a pretty complete list. We're still sort of, I think, we didn't meet, and after our workshop, I had to get off the call earlier, so I don't know whether there's additional stuff there, but probably gonna meet and prioritize some of the things on the list.
Yeah, I would, and I would also just, a lot of these are mobility board type issues, so we'll want to think about how we, triangulate that, because, that a lot of this is kind of in their purview.
And we can partner with them, because like sometimes it's not high enough of a priority, but we can say it's interesting enough from our angle.
Sure.
Well, we do have on our agenda to talk about these liaisons to other boards, which would probably be a good opportunity for this kind of, some of the things you're talking about.
Absolutely.
With that, the next is the Civic Wellness Committee, tentative name.
Is that the name that we're going with, Commissioner, or?
Yeah, but let's.
Okay, all right.
I think that works for now, and I don't know really who our subcommittee chair is, so I will jump in with we met this morning. So Samantha Lane, Rick, myself, met this morning. We had a really good discussion. While it was quick, I think we came to some really good focus on what we wanted to prioritize, and I think what we figured out is that I'm going to kind of focus on social health in the community. That there's, mobility is concerned with things like physical health and transportation. And I think that we saw that there's a real need. While we all assume that, this is a closely connected community, I think there's plenty of reasons to think that maybe it's not, because there's kind of this national isolation epidemic. And so we talked a lot about what we could do to make sure that people do feel connected, that they do have a rich social life, that they know where opportunities are to get together. I talked about doing maybe a survey. I'm not usually a lover of surveys, but I think in this instance, we probably have never covered this idea of, do people feel like they know where to go to meet other people? Do they know their neighbors? What can we do to help people feel more connected? Does that mean more events? Obviously there's an infrastructure component. I believe very much that it's something that we should consider. And Elaine brought up a really good point too, is like, well, what are people, how are people connecting online? Was that always healthy? These existing entities where people voice their concerns or complaints or whatever, is that something that we should offer an alternative to, or how do we interface with that? And I think we just really felt that it probably is an area where we don't consider enough in the neighborhood, whether people feel socially connected and feel like they know where to go, maybe to strengthen those ties. Because ultimately a person's relationship to their neighborhood is much to do with the people that they know, and how can we maybe improve that? I'm happy to hear anybody else interject some thoughts into.
I wanted to put forward a framework for actually quantifying civic wellness. And I was thinking there'd be like three main components to it. So one would be, as you were saying earlier, third spaces, but like through surveys, but also like just counting. So like seeing like where people are. So if you can ask business owners if people are showing up to their cafes and restaurants and other places like that, seeing how many people are at, say, like library or parks, just like a rough estimate, just to see like trends over time to see if people are using these spaces. Second thing would be activity within local organizations. I feel like that's a pretty good indicator of quantifying civic wellness if people are engaging with their community. So like participating in groups such as like Lebo Green, and like how are these groups changing over time? How many people do they have? And what are their new initiatives or ideas? And the third would be, since it's civic wellness, I would think how people participate in town policy would be a really good way of measuring civic wellness. So like, how are people attending board meetings to voice their opinion, or what is the voter turnout in local elections? And I feel like based on these three pillars, you could at least attempt to quantify civic wellness in another way other than just asking like, do you like the way your town is?
Thank you, Paolo. I think that's really important. It's always been one of those areas where I don't think there's enough progress made because people feel it's too nebulous, but I think most anything can be measured, including, civic wellness. So I appreciate the comments, absolutely. And, we'd also discuss maybe trying to create some sort of aggregator of what all opportunities are there, instead of people having to go out and search, where's the tennis club meet or where's Lebo Green going, like, you should be able to find out what is taking place every day, where you could volunteer, what social opportunities are out there, make it extremely easy for people to show up and make new acquaintances.
Well, it sounds to me that this subcommittee is the perfect place to house the nonprofit summit.
Sadly, it probably is. No, that makes a lot of sense.
So I'll talk, because I think there's a lot that can be drawn into that. Because it's not just about having a one and done speed dating nonprofit arrangement. It's really about cultivating. And so, I mean, this really could be one of the vessels to do that.
And we
Right.
did talk about that. Sam had, I think it was you, Sam, that brought up, some way of aggregating all of the organizations and making sure that everyone knows what's out there and having a central location for them.
Perfect. Well, that's great. And just so everybody is aware of I kind of went a little bit rogue, which is, a bit of my nature. Yes, I was being naughty. So I reached out to Commissioner Izzo because, with her relation with the Community Relations Board, she's on board. I talked to Laura Pace-Lilly, our Public Information Officer. She's on board. So one of the next steps is I'm just going to start pulling together a list of the organizations and putting some guardrails on this. There's a lot of great organizations like Bike Pittsburgh. I'll just pick on them. Great organization. But what I was sort of envisioning is tapping into Mount Lebanon resources, at least at this point. So, we have Move Lebo, we have Lebo Green, we have SHIM to some degree. So I'm going to pull together a list. I'll work with the committee on that. Laura's going to work with me too in case, I'm sure there's some groups that I missed and the committee might know some as well. That's really kind of the first step. And then what I was envisioning was once we get that in a place that people are comfortable with, reaching out to those organizations and having a meeting with their executive directors or board presidents to kind of educate them on what the intent of what we're doing is, make sure they want to participate, and then calendar this summit, whatever we want to call it. So we were shopping around some different venues for it. Because there could be, we want a lot of people to attend, so we need the right space. So we banter around the rec center. We can deal, that's getting into the weeds of the details, but we want it to be in a place that's exciting to be, but also can accommodate the people that would show up. So it's already starting to get legs. But it strikes me that this committee would really be a great place to house that.
It does make sense, and I think that, every nonprofit is certainly out, wants to meet their mission, but I think sometimes we forget that residents don't necessarily care as much. They want to know where they can volunteer, they want to know where they connect, and so I think to combine efforts to make that easier for somebody in town to get involved or to meet other people is certainly a benefit to everybody, and might as well share those resources. So to add, we haven't had a chance to prioritize anything yet. We just kind of nailed down what we want to work on, so we'll talk again soon and come up with some priorities, but I thought it was a really positive meeting.
Just to add, as we were going through the workshop, I had a list just on economic development. Kirill had a list on economic development. That already, and then other people started, chiming on different facets. It was getting to be broader and broader and broader. And I think Jeff mentioned the concept of civic health. And I think maybe that's an overriding principle here. I mean, maybe that's a guideline as we're all prioritizing is, does this really benefit the community? The partnership, which concentrates and its mission is just uptown, is really not like a chamber of commerce. It's a community serving district. The reason we promote the businesses and try to get better businesses that attract more people is so the community will have a hub, and where we see each other in person, where we commune, where people aren't just online. And so the more vibrant, the more, and all these functions that the partnership puts on and else, is all really to enhance the community's health and maybe be some kind of a way to combat, the online stuff that makes us all polarized and sometimes hating each other over nothing, so.
Yeah, absolutely. That is very much how I see it, so I appreciate the comment.
I'm gonna add one thing too. Yeah, I think that was actually, I think Rick's idea to have the repository for all the, but thank you. But yeah, I know we all talked about it. And I love that. And I'm just thinking as you're talking about businesses too, maybe there's a spot for businesses. I don't know if we have that already, but a spot for a business repository too, so people know about all the businesses that are here. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, the partnership website has a business listing and,
I think that's the main crux of it is if you're moving here, you have no idea what the partnership is and you wouldn't even look for it.
right, and I understand that, but,
I'm not saying, I think our point was, we're not saying the municipality has to have a list of everything and that it just, there needs to be somewhere where someone can go and say, I'm interested in this. And instead of just saying Mount Lebanon, tennis, right? Because there may be very obscure things people are interested in, I don't know. Video games,
no, I know, that's.
homemade video games, right? So like, I think there should be a municipal hosted thing where it's either, whether it's business activities, business events, community events, library events. And I guarantee you there's someone who can do, if the partnership has a bunch of events on their website, someone can have some sort of code that sucks it into the municipal webpage somewhere. But it's just, it gives that more ease of use and ease of accessibility for someone who's.
Yeah, you want a one-stop shop type of thing. And we used to have something like that on the old website, but the old website was very Byzantine and too dense with information. So that's when we streamlined it. And part of that streamlining eliminated at least the business listings. I don't know that's out of my wheelhouse. That's not my department, but it's something that I think is missing. I know that because there isn't a one-stop shop, at least for the business listings comprehensively. And I do have my assistant, Erica. We're working on that. Because it needs refreshed. So I don't want to get too into weeds on that, but it's a very valid point. And we are starting to work on pulling together all that information.
Yeah, like if not to say it, but if the dentist ever happens, like I think businesses should be able to say, hey, we'll give you access to our whatever website back page so that you can just suck all the stuff from our website and put it on this listing. Whether it's events they're planning or, public meetings they're having or whatever it is.
Sounds like something to put on the list for prioritization.
Next, Sustainability and Local Ecology Committee.
Well, we tried to meet, and we kind of met, but with some technical and other difficulties. But we do have a list of things that are, we've been talking about. First, I would just ask that maybe we just shorten our name to the Sustainability Committee. There's a lot of words there. And it won't change our reference or our focus, but, sometimes less is more. What we do want to look at, we visited in the past the idea of the single-use plastic bags and non-recyclable food containers, came to the conclusion as a municipality, that's a hard thing for us to enforce for a lot of reasons. Doesn't mean we're not interested in the concept, and we were going to be doing some more homework, looking at that, at the potential, at least recommending to the commissioners the idea of supporting a larger, perhaps county or statewide initiative, something that would be manageable. So we'll come back to you at some point soon with some, after doing some more homework and some thoughts on maybe a resolution we may want to present to the board, present to you, to present to the commissioners. In terms of food forests, we had a lot of attention on Hidden Hollow, and I haven't given that up completely, but that doesn't mean that we can't move on to some other options. In the Ascend Lebo, there's a steep hillside on Cedar Boulevard across from the tennis courts that's been identified as a potential site for something called a Miyawaki tiny forest. And I think we're going to spend some time looking into that and whether there's some grant opportunities for that. That's a little different than the food forest that we talked about previously, but we have the other site to consider for the food forest is the hilltop behind the municipal swimming pool. That's a site that had actually been recommended by the Parks and Rec Advisory Board when we talked to them about the Hidden Hollow site. So I think there's a couple opportunities there to increase the tree canopy. That's one of our charges given to us in the Assembly Vote plan. And look for other potential sites as well on municipal property. We have been asked in the past and haven't made a lot of progress, but I do want to move forward with the idea of promoting infrastructure for future underground utilities. There are communities that do, when they do street reconstruction, install a conduit and other things that make that kind of work feasible later. It is not simple, it's not easy. You have to get a lot of cooperation when you get this done. But we also have maybe look at some other opportunities. For example, is it feasible at all when we do new sidewalks, to do things? Because we are installing new sidewalks, which I think are great. Consider within the new commercial and residential development and redevelopment as we look at our zoning revamp. Should that be part of what we think about when we do that? And anywhere else that the municipality does a major project, should that be at least a thinking point, if not feasible, but something we should consider? Finally, large things is to look at grant opportunities and other feasibility before we present the idea within the plan. Is the idea of food waste composting and greater recycling of yard waste. Those are both potentially difficult to get underway without the financial resources. So I think we would want a cart and a horse before we would come to the board with that kind of idea. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity there, if nothing else, just based on my own personal experience and walking around my neighborhood. So we have a fairly long list of things to consider. We're not going to take on the tree canopy right now, even though that's a big item in the plan because there is a consultant that the municipality's hired and we don't want to double up on their work. But we're always happy to lend our 2 cents if they'd like to hear it.
I just read an article about playgrounds in the Netherlands that they have purpose walls.
I'm sorry, pardon me?
Purpose walls. And so basically the kids can walk over and grab whatever, it's all edible.
Oh.
I don't know how they keep animals away from eating it.
Oh, great.
They don't have them.
They're gonna kill all the animals so they can have.
Maybe
purpose
develop
walls.
a black bear
That's
problem.
a solid environmental plan. Kill the animals.
If you're,
We'll think about
I mean,
that.
if you're talking about foraging, we have playgrounds all over the place, right? In schools, municipal playgrounds. Could be something interesting.
I'm going to the Netherlands at the end of November. I'll check it out.
Find a playground.
Yeah, I'll find a playground. Then I'll probably be hauled away.
Looking for harvest walls.
Okay, thank you.
They don't have a problem.
Yeah, it's gonna.
Yeah, I mean, we have raspberries in our neighborhood and the birds just take them all.
Yeah. So those are the 3 subcommittees. The other is the zoning ad hoc. We met, and I'll let, I don't know who wants, we discussed that. But before we get into that meeting, one of the big takeaways was that we definitely wanted to see a member from the other 3 subcommittees have someone appointed or sit on the zoning ad hoc. It's an ad hoc by its true definition. Once the zoning consultants and the refresh are completed with their tasks, the first or
For
early.
a couple of years.
No, first or second quarter of next year. Unless the commission wants to give them a lot more money to extend the process. It'll be wrapping up at that point. So that's really the life of the ad hoc, at least, as I see it. I mean, even though there's always zoning discussion, but again, now is when you want to strike, the irons are hot. So I don't know if.
I mean, we talked about, again, that was the facets of the meeting was to figuring out first off, getting other people involved in this. And the second aspect was really, and it's under here, having liaisons from other advisory boards serve on the ad hoc committee as well. So that we would have kind of more of a critical mass to do that. Now, the thing I have, and I was intending to call Ian McNeans, and it skipped me on that. I made a phone call and then never followed up with it. But again, to talk with Ian, who's is he chief planner?
Yeah, he's our municipal planner and he's the staff lead on this project.
And so to work with him, so we integrate well with him and not tripping over each other's feet on that, so. But along with that, I'm thinking that in dealing with the people from the other advisory boards, any suggestions on how we can, which boards are we talking about and how do we draw them into?
Well, for the zoning ad hoc, at least one representative from each of the subcommittees, so economic development, civic wellness, and sustainability, pardon me. And, if anyone else, as an ad hoc, you can have, in any of the committees, you can have folks that are not appointed members. If this ad hoc wants to add other committees from other advisory boards, that's certainly something that we can discuss.
Well, how about at least at this point, I know we're also running on certain deadlines with, I believe in December is when, the first major deadline is.
Yeah, time is not long.
So is it worthwhile to look for other advisory boards, see if they want to belong, or should we just concentrate on us, at least for this part of the zoning?
If you're asking my opinion, I would keep it in this silo.
Okay. Well, then that would bring kind of the first thing with it is, and before we get into it, I know that we've had some discussions of saying, with the zoning ordinance itself. And some of us are used to working with it, others maybe not so much. And I know that there are things on the website that really describe the zoning process. They give a pretty good overview of what is planned on this. And probably if people are interested in that, if you go to the website, I would even suggest you can look at the thing, the zoning ordinance, but sometimes what it is, zoning ordinances are usually parts of comprehensive plans. And that usually is the overall view. That's something that's legally required. But for a comprehensive plan, it kind of gives it's the vision statement of community development. And I would encourage people to, even if you have no interest in doing anything with zoning, take a look at it because it gives an idea of what our vision is on the for zoning and also for development generally. Also, I will warn that if you also go to that page and talk about a subdivision land development ordinance, don't go there yet, just don't. You'll get lost.
Saldo's different.
Yeah, that's certainly different. But with that, I think that with the zoning ordinance, I'd encourage people to look at just 5-10 minutes. I would consider everybody on just looking at the zoning ordinance to get an idea of what it is and how it operates within the community, because yes, it covers all the topics. It talks about all the zones we have and what's built and what isn't built there. And it also indicates things that different subjects, different uses that are governed, where it's allowed, where it isn't allowed, under what circumstances as conditional uses. I don't know if what can be a special exception, but to take a looking at it, I think will give people a flavor, especially since we'll be talking about this, just to get an idea of what it is. And one of the things that I know that this happens elsewhere too, is that we want to make it friendly not only for developers, but also for the citizens to know what goes on in the community. And also to know that, all right, I hear, my neighbor wants to do this, gee, I'm afraid of what might happen. But at least, going there makes you familiar of what can or can't be done. So again, I would like to, I would request that at least for the next meeting, just spend 5 minutes on it. It's not, even if you get this and it's like, okay, Eric has sent out the agenda for August, let's look, take 5 minutes to do it. 15 minutes to do that, you really get an idea of that. Was there anything else I should hit on this?
No, I mean, I think it's just, don't get in the weeds.
Yeah.
Just think about like what you see and what, how buildings are and what uses there are in buildings. I mean, that's really what zoning is like what you can use a piece of property for and how big a piece of building you can put on top of it. And it, even like one of our neighbors had a deck on the side of his house and it tore it down and rebuilt it and he got hit and he said, well, that's a violation. You can't rebuild that. So he got through this whole process. He probably didn't know. So, I mean, it affects even stupid little things like that, or if you put up a fence. So,
Yeah, zoning affects all of us, even if you don't know it, but you find out real quick when you try to do
Yeah,
something.
if you do something wrong.
So, I mean, it's really one of the most, if not the most potent documents in any local government is the zoning code. So the importance of this can't be understated. But just to that point, right now, our current zoning, and for the edification of folks in the audience and those watching at home, you know, our current zoning code is very dense. It's I'll use the word again, Byzantine. You know, it's very difficult to navigate if you're not a zoning expert or a solicitor or that type of thing, or work in this world. It can be a bit daunting. That's one of the key tasks of OHM, who is the zoning subject experts that have been brought on board to work with the municipality, is to make it a lot more user-friendly. One of the ways to do that is through pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? So, you know, having that type of thing and removing some of that dense narrative and making it a little more concise and succinct, again, with pictures that illustrate what's being
described.
What's being, right, but
Illustration.
where your fence can go, where it can't, with a picture on a rectangle of where, you know, these types of things. So that's already kind of in the works. That's already a mandate and something they're already working on. Where they are right now is they're actually starting to work on the code based on the comprehensive plan and various inputs from various stakeholder groups. But there's still opportunity to add input. And again, I can't emphasize it enough, now is the time to do that. Because, you know, come December, which isn't far away, they're going to be starting to release drafts of what they've worked on for comment. And that's really where we're going to, the rubber's really going to start hitting the road, because once they're done with that process, they're going to be, again, finalizing the language to bring to the commission first or early second quarter of next year for it to be voted on. So, and then.
Yeah, keep in mind, they've already have the focus groups. I mean, they've been.
Yeah, they've been, this has been going on now for a number of months, all this year, beginning late last year.
yeah, and I think like some of the things, so zoning used to be houses and commercial buildings, and then they started adding things. And so now it's become is if you don't have something covered, people can start doing whatever they want with it. So, you know, that's why you start seeing beehives being included in zoning, you know, vape shops. So, you know, if there are things that you personally deal with, whether it's in your, you know, at your house or your business or whatever, you think, hey, it would be really great if this was addressed, because every time I try to do it, I'm told I can't do it, or, you know, whether that's, you know, live work units, alternate dwelling units, stuff like that.
Solar,
you know. You know, I don't know if you would be able to do a carport solar in Mount Lebanon right now.
probably not. I mean, I don't know that. I'm not saying that as I know, but probably not, because the code is pretty.
It'd be an accessory structure in your front yard most of the time.
The keystone, the foundational language in our zoning code really goes back to probably the Ford or Carter administration. I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, it goes back to the
I was gonna say Eisenhower.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, it's been amended and it's been all this type of thing, but this is really the first time there's been a serious, like, total refresh of the code and how it's presented to the public ever, or since the 70s. So, again, it's a pretty exciting time, you know, if you're into this kind of stuff, because it does affect every single person in this room and on TV at home. So, you know, important stuff. And Rick does raise a good point. There may be things in your work life that you may be aware of. Like, you know, nobody saw legal marijuana as an issue 15 years ago. Well, now it is. Nobody saw EV stations as an issue. Well, now it is. Vape shops, vaping didn't exist, you know, not that long ago. So there may be some trends or something that you're seeing in your day job that you think, hey, you know, that may be something that needs to be discussed. Now's the time to do that. And again, if there's anybody, and again, would like to see a member from each subcommittee. So if there's somebody that's, has a burning fever for zoning on a subcommittee,
I'll do it for the economic development, but I don't have a burning desire to do it.
that's gonna change,
Your
Jim.
second volunteer, you will volunteer for that.
All right, so we have Jim from,
Passion.
Jim from Economic Development. Does anybody else want to step up to the plate? We need two more. No pressure. If you don't want to, you want to discuss in your committee, but I just figured while we're here.
Yeah, can't we caucus? I mean,
Yeah, caucus if you need to caucus. Yeah, we're getting real serious now.
Let me just say, once you go down that zoning rabbit hole,
You're never the same again.
No, we want to encourage them. We want to encourage them.
It's actually really, you can start to geek out on it once you start getting into it.
Because some of the stuff that you read about and in Postcard, or even like I would say if you get Wall Street Journal, they will talk about trends with dealing with zoning, which then impacts land use and the like. And so that's always a big thing about it. And you also find that if you see, overview, even just look at the subtitle, the table of contents, there may be things like, well, why do they do that? And again, there may be things I could see they pull out of zoning or just not do anymore or reclassify simply because they're not there. There was something in Mount Lebanon Magazine, I think, the last couple of months, how someone used a building and they were using it as a adult entertainment warehouse. I don't think they did, but they were. And then the city official or Mount Lebanon officials pretty much, I think how I understand the story really went they bought out the guy who bought the place. But there used to be, pages and pages and pages upon where you could have, adult entertainment places and how close and where and the zoning density. And fortunately, it seems that that's just, you don't see that anymore in large part because of developments of technology and the like, so. But I would, again, if you want to, if you're interested, please let Eric.
Well, we got Taylor from Sustainability, we've got Jim from Economic Development.
Okay.
Come on, Civic Health.
well, I'm on civic health, but I think we should get a civic health person.
Yes, you should.
I'm on the steering committee already.
Yeah, you
Can't double.
Commissioner Siegler's.
So who are we talking
who's
about?
left?
Yeah.
Well, Rick can serve double duty.
Oh,
Rick's capable.
Rick's capable. I bet we.
Grace isn't here.
Yeah, Grace is on it.
Who else is on it? Besides Chet, Grace? Who else?
On which, no, I'm on.
Elaine, Rick,
My committee is
Grace,
already
and
represented.
Jeff can't. Jeff's a commissioner, so.
Taylor stood up for us.
And again, think about it, Rick's don't need to know. I mean, Rick can,
Well, since Grace isn't here, obviously, she's been placed on it now.
I'll just have
A dirty trick.
wait, I'm losing control of my hand and it's writing Grace. We'll put her there and we'll talk to her.
Gently persuade her.
She'll be a great ad.
Lane's very quiet over there.
Well, it would be kind of weird because I'm on sustainability and civic health, kind of
We'll talk to Grace. I think
much.
she,
But besides bribery and kidnapping.
plus like we need historic preservation, right, with the zoning, so this really does.
Good.
I mean, we have to get her,
That's a great
her
justification.
nod.
This is on tape. If she wants to find out how she got shanghaied into this.
You know, come on, man, you don't come to a meeting,
You have been volunteered.
you get volunteered, so, but we'll talk to Grace for sure before we commit her, but I think that, I don't want to, she's not here, so I'm not speaking for her, but that would be, especially with the historic preservation, so we don't want that lost in the dialogue.
Okay, well, that's good. Thank you. Thank you all. Next, staff liaison report.
Okay, wow, we're almost at 7. Okay, I'll be succinct here. So I put in, back in March, a grant for the Allegheny Main Streets for the Activate Uptown. I don't know how public it is, but I'm gonna go there. We were awarded the grant, I just don't know how much. So there's a release party, or I don't know what they're really calling it, but they're having a little soiree next week in Bellevue where they're going to announce the grant awards. So we were invited to that, and I confirmed with somebody at the county that, yes, I'll be very happy with the news. Because I told them I was not coming to the party unless I got a gift. So, we're excited for that. I made application for 100,000. I do not think we got 100. If we did, I will be the first to start wooing. But we did receive some grants, so I'll report out what that is after I know what it is, but I think that's good news.
What's it to be used for?
The Activate Uptown project, so the commission allocated $221K to start to actualize parts of the plan, mostly around Clock Tower Plaza and the portal. So decorative lighting, railing, sunshade, various, those sorts of things. I haven't been able to we've been doing some work behind the scenes with Gateway engineers, getting costs, working with vendors and suppliers. But I haven't been able to execute because you can't use the grant money for something you've already used. So I've been kind of in this frustrating holding pattern. But that frustration will alleviate itself hopefully very shortly. So that's what it's for. So for those who are new to the committee and those in the room and at home, that's the piece that was made application for. Final Friday is next Friday. That's 59 watts. Yins are good. I don't know if Sam's still here. Tressa will be coming to that to get Yin's good stories. So we're going to set her up somewhere. The person who does that, Tressa and I are going to meet on site to find a good place for that. She may very well be at the August one. So if you're not familiar with the podcast, listen to it. But if you don't have any plans next Friday, please consider coming uptown to enjoy 59 watts. It's a Mount Lebanon band. And, we're talking about civic wellness. What's a better place to be than at a free rock show in the heart of uptown? So please come to that. The partnership has its first application for the facade grant program. The facade grant committee met and deliberated on that. I don't want to speak too much about it because the person who applied hasn't received formal notification, but I will say that it went positive and went well. We expect to send them a letter that they've been approved and they'll commence that project. I can probably speak a little more about that at the next meeting once the applicant has been formally notified, but that's exciting. We have other businesses in the Uptown District that are interested in the facade grant, so we're finally going to get those dollars on the street. I already talked about the nonprofit summit, so I'm not going to go into much more about that, but it seems like we've got a thing here, so we'll get that going. Still working with Coffee Tree. We've had a few folks that have toured that, all very positive experiences. Can't really speak too much about it, but, we're hopeful to return it back to what it was, maybe not Coffee Tree, but something similar. So that's moving along. Golden Beetle is relocating to Washington Road from where they currently are, so that space will be available. So I have some tenants looking at that, as well as some other spaces on the avenue. So, that's.
Paula?
All right, since we've already spent a lot of time talking about zoning, you guys are gonna love this because it's about C2 zoning.
Let's go, let's do it.
So last week I talked about the Cochrane Road kind of area between the high school and some of the apartment buildings and shops along there. But I want to attack this more on a structural level and specifically within C2 zoning in general within Mount Lebanon. And within it, it's stated that it wants whatever zone within it to have the spirit of an urban area. But that doesn't really carry any weight. It just is more of a goal and it's kind of just optimistic, yes, this should look like a city, hopefully. But one way I want to address this is part of the building code is, or zoning code is that obviously the base max height is 80 feet. But for each additional foot of front yard, the building height may be increased by 1 foot to a maximum building height of 98 feet. Now, I get the point of setbacks are very important, having sunlight and stuff, but if it keeps it so that your buildings are not going to keep that urban form, if they're going to be away from the sidewalks and people have to walk from the sidewalk to the building, you're not going to get that urban form. So if it could be that at least the first 2 or 3 floors could be allowed to reach the sidewalk and that the rest of the building setback, or that even like the sidewalks themselves are widened, or that there's something specified that space can't just be left empty. There has to be something there, or at least something to keep it more in urban form.
I like you. I said that at the last meeting, I'm gonna say it again.
Is he not on the ad hoc committee? He is the only person of his age I've ever heard talk about.
Yeah, I don't hear people that are my age talking about C2 setbacks.
It made it sound a lot more exciting than the other zoning experts.
I think he's on the ad hoc.
Yeah.
John,
Give us a
Like
5 to
Jesus
30 years.
preaching in front of his elders, we're amazed.
No, I think we can go home. You'll be but in all seriousness, no, that's a very valid point, and let me give you a real life example of how silly setbacks can be. Sometimes they make sense, but in urban design form, not always, and mostly not. So I'll use the hotel as an example. Because of our current existing zoning code, the hotel that's on Washington Road is set back, and they have that planter which is very poorly maintained. Well, that's there because they were required to have that 10-foot setback. One, they have this poorly maintained planter because they can't put anything structural over the underground garage, which could have been dealt with. But the other thing, they would have been able to have had either another restaurant or something contributing to the street had they had that square footage. But because of our existing code and zoning, this is why zoning is important, they had that setback, which really limited what they could do. They obviously needed to have the lobby and they need to have a gathering space, all that kind of thing. So setbacks, as unsexy as it may sound, are hugely important. And they are addressing that.
This is the only place on Washington Road that has a nice setback that you can put outdoor furniture. If you wanted to have outdoor eating, if you had a restaurant.
You want, yeah, I mean, that would be an upside, but, and you could design that, but give them the option to either maximize the envelope of the building and let the developer, the project decide that. And of course, these all go through a planning process. It's not like the developer comes in here and whatever they say, it just happens. There's a dialogue, but that is something. And they did, just real quickly, I know Tubbs, since you brought it up. I mean, they had talked about when they finally did put in a small bar for the guests. I mean, anybody can go in. But they had talked about putting seating in that planting area, and I was very excited by that because the planter's not great, but they never executed on that, but hopefully at some point they will. But yeah, setbacks are hugely important, and it does disintegrate the urban form when you don't have buildings at the sidewalk line. But they are considering it.
I think there's a home for you on that ad hoc.
No, that's what I wanted to
Very
share.
good, though, very good, very good.
And concise. Appreciate it.
Is there, I mean, I know you're a senior, right?
I'm gonna be a senior, yes.
Gonna be a senior. But if you have time, please, can we make Paul part of our ad hoc committee?
If he so wishes to be.
I'll join.
Okay.
All right, that's a yes, so we got that.
Paula, did you apply for a second year?
I did.
Is that allowed? I mean, I don't know if there's a policy
I
that
didn't
says
see
you were doing.
I didn't see a policy saying that you.
I don't, who cares?
Let's do it this way. I don't think there is. I don't know. But like zoning, if it's not mentioned in there, then,
Forgiveness rather than.
let it be. And if for some reason you couldn't be on there, there is absolutely no reason why you can't still contribute.
Yeah.
As an ad hoc. We can have committee folks that are not appointed. So one way or the other.
Okay, no, the short answer is don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
I mean, the commissioners can just approve anything they want. Okay, if they.
Unilaterally.
They make the rules, I don't, so.
The commissioners do the final vote, right, but who actually presents the name of candidates? I'm just looking for who I can block onto, that's all.
Candidates apply through the website, and then we decide amongst the 5 of us who interviews. So
Oh, you heard my vote,
Yeah.
my lobby.
I imagine it's fine.
Good, cool.
Okay. Well, excellent. Let's see, if anything else, old business, we have liaisons to other advisory boards, but I think we've gone through that.
Well, we've talked about the idea, should we have a member from our board pay attention to the other advisory boards?
At least just watch the video.
Yeah, which, I would be happy to do with the Parks and Rec people, because they cross over a lot into what our committee does. I don't know if anybody wants to pay, like, it sounds like, for example, and Carl, I don't want to volunteer you for anything, but it sounds like mobility board has a lot of crossover in areas that your committee is interested in. And so it'd be good maybe just to pay attention to them and say, hey, here's their issues that maybe cross into us, that we might be interested in. But, and there are others, I mean, the others, what are they, community,
Civic engagement.
civic engagement, ability, what's the fifth one?
Financial management.
Parks, we already have Parks and Rec,
Parks.
mobility, civic engagement, financial, yeah,
I'm not sure that one's one for us,
no.
but,
And then there's planning, you need to have a planning board, that's different.
yeah, but I thought there was like one more advisory board.
Yeah, why am I?
Just 5. Yeah, that's it.
Is it?
They're
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, but I gotta say, I'd be happy to pay attention to Parks and.
Krill, are you cool with it's basically just watch, you can
Yeah, I
either
can
attend
watch
the
them.
meeting or just watch the video.
At 2x.
Yeah, right on, whatever speed you want. And is anybody interested in the civic engagement? Just, again, it's just watching the video and just saying, if there's something of note that you see that would be germane to this board, just,
I can watch.
okay, all right, we got John. All right.
And it'll help us remember when we should be working with them.
Okay, and we'll put this in the minutes and,
Also, if you want to maybe send a separate email on that and who's ever on the board, things like that, so it's a ready reference, because we never get into the minutes, but if it's like just an email, so we can say, okay, here's who they are, and if there's no offense to that, the email, well, I guess you can put the emails too, as opposed to hunting and pecking throughout the thing, just so in case someone says, in case you find someone in one of the other boards, hey, I want to reach out to them, and then you can just say, okay, here it is, so. But,
Yeah, I'll do it.
that'd be great. All right, anything else under old business? Anything under new business?
I just had a quick question for Jeff. When you were talking about the e-bikes having to be 16, do you have to be licensed or just 16?
In some cases, you have to have, like, some of these devices, you have to actually have like a operator's license.
Because I didn't know if you were 21 but never had a license, if you could ride one, like.
if you go to the PennDOT website, they have actually like a cheat sheet.
Right.
Oh, really?
There's a
Yeah.
lot of definitions, but you'd be surprised at how many of that.
I actually think there's one, I put some actually just recently on the customer
Okay.
service board, because this has become such a hot topic. That's that cheat sheet, like, this is legal, this isn't, this is legal, but you need this, you know, that type of thing.
A lot of them-
Helmet, no helmet, you
The
know.
magazine had like a chart that talked
Yeah,
about
I think
that.
that's probably, PennDOT has it on
It's
there.
like motorcycles, if it's depending on the engine size, how
Right.
much power it has, you can ride one with a driver's license if it's a certain
Yeah, under 50
small
cc.
amount, yeah. But if it's bigger than that, you have to have a motorcycle
Yeah,
license.
but you'd be surprised.
Yeah, it's crazy, and of course, the technology is just growing to such a point that, you know, everything's, yeah, anyway, yeah, if you go to the PennDOT site, but I think there might be some sheets
All right.
left on the counter right as you leave.
But this doesn't cover scooters, right?
If it's motorized, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, e-scooters.
Any-
And a lot of them are banned, like Pitt State College has banned them on campus. If you get busted, it's a huge fine.
Anything that's in essence not self-propelled falls into one of these categories that is getting is regulated.
Yeah, they're getting banned left and right.
Anything else under new business? If not, next meeting, August 26th at 6 o'clock. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.